Welcome to YOUCANIC. Today on YOUCANIC we have a 2016 Dodge Journey with the 3.6 Pentastar motor. We're going to go over the process of replacing the power steering pump on this vehicle. We're going to try to do our best to be able to do it without removing exhaust and anything else that is in the way. So to start with, we're just going to pop this cover just to give us doesn't really give us a whole lot of any different access, just that I'm going to remove this. This is your power steering pump reservoir. I'm going to remove it and be able to get, as I can bring it up, I can get a pan under here to collect the oil from it. I'm going to undo these hose connections and then be able to drain that, so that when we do take off the power steering pump itself, we're not going to have a lot of fluid leaking down where we're at. The power steering pump on this thing is located back behind this and down under there. So we're going to do all the work from what would be the passenger side wheel well and from under the vehicle. So you would have jacked the vehicle up and got it supported on jack stands for that process. Most of your work you will be doing from the underside of the motor. So to start with, we're gonna move this so that I can get some space under here to be able to undo this, and we can get all this oil out without it coming down onto us. So those are just two 13mm bolts, and now we can be able to move this up. We can also remove this clamp. This goes for the coolant, engine coolant. We're just going to remove this clamp and then be able to push this and set this out of our way. Okay, now we have pretty good access to be able to slide something under there, or we'll just kind of tip this on its side, and that way when we undo it, all the fluid is in the canister or the reservoir itself. I mean, we'll get a little bit of spill. We get a lot of just pressure adhesion here, so we got to be able to get that broken free. Well, with that undone, I mean, we're always going to have a little bit of oil leak, but there's not as much to go down this once we undo it. And we will actually, this will all be free once we get the bolts that hold the actual power steering pump on. We'll just pull that whole thing down with this line installed at the front. Okay, so now we will move down to the bottom and we will start removing the components that we need to be able to access that. First, we need to undo the we got to release tension on the tensioner, get the belt undone, and then we can remove the tensioner, and that should give us enough access to remove the 3 bolts that hold the power steering pump on. And then there will be one other connection that we'll have to do, which is the high pressure connection, and that we will, once we get it free, we'll be able to reach down there with our wrench and undo that. So the front right tire has been removed. The vehicle is jacked up and supported on jack stands, and gives us the access. Right here is the tensioner, so we need to put a ratchet, just the 1/4 inch or the 3/8 drive ratchet inside this square hole right there, and be able to bring the tension off. Then we'll remove this whole tensioner by undoing this bolt, and then our power steering pump is right up here, and there are 3 bolts that hold that on, and we can gain access to them through the holes in the pulley itself, and we can undo those 3 bolts, and then we should be able to get that out, undo the one connector, and pull that whole power steering assembly away. You're going to see how this goes. So, start with, let's release some tension on the belt here and remove the belt so that we can get that part of the process done, and then we'll remove this tension. Okay, so we've got the belt out of the way because we're working on this unit right here. We're going to undo this bolt here. So I can see right now, even if undoing the 3 bolts here, for this to be able to fall out down here, it's not going to work. So we're going to undo, there's 3 bolts to hold the bracket, and then hopefully we have enough space. Okay, I was able to get the bottom one here. There's 2 up at the top. I'm going to see what I can do by reaching up back through back here. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go in from the top and do it by feel. And then there's a bracket here. You can remove that. That's 3 bolts that hold the bracket that then holds the power steering pump. And you remove that, and we're able to get this out without taking the drive shaft out or doing anything else, because there is enough space that you can work it out through the back. So now we're going to go ahead and put our new good used one back on. The old one looks very similar, but we have a good used one here to put back on and being replaced. And so what's going to happen is we're going to slide this in from the back, and we'll slide it up into place, and then we'll be able to start our bolts here to be able to tighten, and we have access through the pulley to be able to finish tightening those bolts. And then we'll need to connect the high pressure line and then the low pressure line. This is the low pressure one where when you fill it, your filler tube will go down through here. You may have already taken it off by this connection, or just be able to slip the hose on here and put the clamp on. And then this one has an O-ring inside of it. So we're going to get this to slip up through there and start putting the bolts on to house this on, then make the connections and fill it full of power steering fluid / this model uses automatic transmission fluid as its power steering fluid. So we'll fill it up with some automatic transmission fluid and get to that process. So you're going to see back here, this is the cross support mainframe on the front. And we have access to be able to put our power steering pump right through here. And that way, like I said, we have to remove less things. Now, you're going to need to pull the exhaust pipe over to be able to get it up through there. But we can get it up through here. Just got to spin it a little bit and kind of just work it up in there. Got it past the main hurdle, and now we just keep moving it up, be able to sit it there, and now we have it in about the right orientation, and we can move out to the other side to be able to get the 3 bolts in. So you're going to see this mounting bracket right here, and then I'm going to move the power steering pump in there and start the 3 bolts. So we were able to get that one tight, so now it's there, but now we just got to tighten the other three. So this is where you have to come up with the right combination of your sockets, your extensions, anything so that you can get a grip. The 3 bolts are tightened to hold that on. Now we need to make the hydraulic line connections. One is your high pressure hydraulic line, and one is the low pressure, or the one when you fill it up where the fluid goes into. And so to start, we're going to be able to reach up through the access point back here and be able to put those attachments on. So you see this, so that's where the one goes, and that's just a clamp. The clamps there, and then there's another one up there. I'll try to get a best view for you, but there's another one up there where you put it in and bolt it in, and it's got an O-ring inside there. Okay, so we've got the high pressure line, and we'll make sure that we still have the O-ring on there. Doing the high pressure line first because the low pressure will be in the way for you to tighten this. And that's a size 18. So we just make that good and snug. And now there's a cap on here so that debris doesn't get in there. So you want to get that off. And now you'll be able to just slide that down, and then you'll need to squeeze the clamp together. And that's all that we need to do for that portion of it. You'll need to put your tensioner back on, so then you can run the pulley or run the belt. And that is a size 16. And now we can put our belt, our ribbed belt, back around the pulleys. And you're going to need to use a ratchet to back off the tension. Okay, so we get it around, we make sure we release the tension, feel around to make sure that all the ribs are inside the pulleys that they need to be in. Okay, so now we move up top where we can finish the installation of the reservoir that holds the power steering fluid. Okay, so we've got the bottom one, it's the bigger tube, top one is a smaller tube. It sits there in place, and it's held by this 13mm bolt. We have this one as well to hold this, the return power steering line. And then make sure you don't forget to rehook up the coolant line if you remove that to give you easier access. And we also don't want to forget to move those clamps Okay, so we've got the clamps in place. Now we need to add some automatic transmission fluid, because that is what's used as your power steering fluid on this vehicle. We're going to add power steering fluid, bring it up here, then we're going to turn the steering wheel 4 or 5 times, all the way to the right, all the way to the left, without starting the vehicle. We don't want to pressurize it completely yet. We want to get fluid into the power steering pump, and then you'll maybe have to re-top off some more automatic transmission fluid, and then you would start it and, you know, steer it to the right and the left, and also make sure that, you know, if you need to top off some more, you would top off some more. So that's how you would that's how you would install a power steering pump on your 2016 Dodge Journey. Thanks for watching YOUCANIC, where you can be the mechanic.